Hello and welcome to this webinar demonstrating CloudzUp, brought to you by Icosa Logic. What is CloudzUp? CloudzUp is an intelligent web-based application generator that creates and deploys a fully functional web application to AWS Elastic Beanstalk in 2 easy steps. Step 1. Simply create a new CloudzUp project by entering some configuration parameters. Click a button and the application is created. Step 2. Click Deploy and your application is up in the cloud. In this demonstration, we will build, deploy, test, and terminate a fully functional web application to Amazon AWS Elastic Beanstalk from the CloudzUp console. The generated solution is architected for the cloud. Please note this video is best viewed in full screen mode. What it does: CloudzUp reads the database schema, generates the entire application, and deploys to AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Naturally, there are some prerequisites required. First, you need a valid active AWS account signed up for the following services: S3, EC2, and RDS. Next, you need those AWS account settings, including the access key and password and the account ID. And naturally, you need a database deployed into Amazon RDS and the login credentials for the database. Finally, you need a valid active CloudzUp account. Now let's go ahead and get started. This is the CloudzUp console, and you can see, for the sake of speed, I've pre-populated the parameters. We've got a project name here and a root project package, the AWS login information, the database information, and the project name will actually become the title of the generated application. The root Java package name will be the Java package name. So I'm going to go ahead and click Create, but before I do that, I'm going to click a stopwatch application we've got going over here, and we'll click Create. So the cursor's changed to a spinning wheel. Right now we are building the project. CloudzUp is reading the database schema from your database running in RDS. It's generating the Java DAO and servlet object classes for the server-side code. It's generating the HTML framework. It's generating JavaScript MVP classes for the client-side code. And it's compiling the Java code, minimizing the JavaScript code, and building a WAR file. And this runs pretty quickly, actually. It typically takes just about a minute. And while this is going on, I'll show you the logging here. We've got very verbose logging inside of the CloudzUp application. Hide the log. This app is still being generated. And now it's completed. So you can see we've run the quick project. We've generated an application from the quick project. You can see by our information messages here, the quick project has completed. Next thing we're going to do is deploy to AWS. So we'll do that by clicking on this link right here. And again, the cursor changes to a spinning wheel, so we know it's started to do its deployment. The screen will refresh momentarily, and it will start to pull messages in from AWS. And there we go. Create environment is starting. Elastic Beanstalk is a hierarchy of AWS services, including S3, EC2, and the Elastic Load Balancer. Now I'm going to go over here to the left pane and click on Files. You can see there's no files here to deploy just yet, or to show just yet, excuse me. Click on Builds, select the build, and we'll view the log file for the build itself. And in here is all the minutiae and the details of what happened when CloudzUp actually created the application. You can see that it's created the servlets, the model, the view, the controllers. It's did its compilation here, compiling the JavaScript. The web INF packages it all up and builds a WAR file for us. Now let's go back over here. We'll click back on configs. And this is our Hello World project. And you can see it's still building, or deploying I should say. It's gotten a little further. Created the load balancer, created the security group, created the autoscaler. Now while that's being deployed, let's go ahead and take a look at the CloudzUp console here, a little more detail. The console is really made up of 3 panels. The leftmost panel is kind of like a tabbed or a nav panel. The center panel shows you the selection that you may have highlighted here. So we've picked configs and it shows us config. Once you select on the item in the center panel, the right panel will update. And that's what we've got over here. So you can see we're looking at the configuration for our quick project. And you can see we've got, this is the first build. It references the AWS credentials. The AWS solution that we use by default for the quick project is a 32-bit Amazon Linux running Tomcat 7. We create the CNAME prefix for you and also populate the AWS environment ID. Click refresh there and it's still at the same step, created the auto scaling group. Let's go back up on our panel, nav panel again, and click on users. So you can see I'm the only authorized user for this account. And here is my user information. Click on credentials. And for that project, the quick project we've made, these are the credentials that it's automatically generated from the entry parameters. Click on the data sources, and again, these are the data sources that were created from our parameters. You can see that provider is AWS RDS, and it's a MySQL database. And here's our RDS instance that we're talking to. It's called JStorm test. And here's the servlets. We can actually view the tables. Our database has about a dozen tables in it. Let's go back and click on configs and see how far we've proceeded. Again, we click on configs. The config shows up in the center panel. Click on that item and the rightmost panel will update. Okay, we've gotten a little further now. It's created a CloudWatch alarm. Let's click refresh again. And let that continue on a little bit. We'll click on Applications over here and select our Hello World app. You can see it's an HTML4 app. And here are some of the details. And here are the models, the views, and the controllers that were all generated automatically for you. Let's go back to the configs again. We should be just about done. No, not quite. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the log for the client side as well. We're in here. We've got very verbose logging again. And you can see everything that's going on here as we do our deployment. And let's go ahead and hide that log. And we'll do another refresh. Okay, our application has been deployed. And by the way, all the messages that display down here, these are coming from Amazon AWS. We're going to go ahead and browse to our running application. I click on that link, opens it up in another tab of our browser. Here's our Hello World application. These are the tables that were in the database that we used. I'm going to go ahead and click on one of the tables. Note the first launch is slow because the deployed application is phoning home to CloudzUp to fetch its runtime configuration. The compiled WAR file can be used for multiple runtime configurations, so it must communicate with CloudzUp to get the RDS name, database name, username, and password before it can connect to the correct database. And it only gets this hit the first time it's opened up. And there we have it. These are all of our tables, or I should say the records in the role table. Let's go ahead and create a new record. Click Create. There's our record. And we can just as quickly delete the record. The record's gone. Now, to demonstrate that that first lag it took before it opened up was truly a one-time shot, let's go ahead and close our application. And I'm going to go ahead and browse to it again. And it's popped up. And we'll click on Roll. And these records show that quickly. And again, we can go ahead and create a new record in here. We'll call this CZ1, CZ1, click Create, and there we have it. So finally, I'm going to demonstrate how we terminate an AWS application. Go down here and just click on Terminate. Are you sure you want to terminate it? We'll click OK. And again, the UI will refresh. You can see the terminate environment is starting, which is taking it all down inside of AWS. And that's the end of this webinar. Hope you enjoyed our CloudzUp demonstration on how to build and deploy a fully functional web application to Amazon AWS without writing a stitch of code. Stay tuned for more videos that show how to add business logic and customize the UI of the default web app that CloudzUp generates. Thank you, and we hope to see you again soon.